There you go.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks for that reminder, Chris. Really appreciate it, because I have
promised, remind you.
I have promised at least 3 or 4 people that they said they can't make it, they want to come. I said, yes, we'll record it and I'll send you the link to the recording. Okay. Okay, well, I think most of you know me. I'm Roly Wendorf, CFO of AUW California. And today I'm going to be ably assisted by the members of the Finance Committee. So, in order that you can see them at the top of your screen, I asked them to put up that golden hand, which you get from the reactions, please. And then,
clapping hand? Oh, I did the wrong hand.
Yeah, the clapping one goes away on its own. The other ones say, okay. So anyway, there you see, first is Roberta Schmaltz. I have one other coming in. Oh, okay, now, and then Carol McMillan. Okay, Linda has a hand up, but Christine Ritter. So, okay, I'm still furiously admitting people, so excuse me if I sound...
Raleigh, I can do that if you want to continue with the meeting. I'll watch the participants.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you. Okay, so anyways, we met the committee members and I'll ask them to introduce them. They all have speaking roles tonight, and so they will introduce themselves a bit more fully then. So we'd also like to, get your contact information. So if you could, does everybody know how to write in chat? Like if each of you could just enter your name, your email address, and your branch in chat, that would be really good. So that way I'll have a record of it. I can save the chat. I'll know who all attended. So I'll give it a couple of minutes and we'll wait while you're in. So I'm looking for name, branch, and email address, please. Okay, they're coming in. Thank you. Yeah, this is the easiest way of getting quickly, instead of me furiously trying to write down everybody's names. Okay. All right. So, if you haven't had a chance to put that in, please do. So looking for name, email address, and branch name. But welcome all of you to this informal session for finance officers, presidents, and any other leaders who are interested. I think since we've gone into more than one screen, I think I won't ask you to raise your hands by roll, because that's kind of difficult to get everybody on the screen right now. What got us motivated to do this session today? So this is for our finance committee has been together. This is our 4th year. And actually the last year of my term as CFO. So actually, hint, any of you who want to stand for CFO, just send me email. I'll be really thrilled. But what we did in these years is we've done several webinars. We've done 3 webinars, one on an overview of the responsibilities of finance officers, then one on how to do branch accounting, and then just this last May, we did one on filing taxes and all government documentation. And we've also done a lot of work in creating new materials for the website, and we have updated what was existing materials, put in some examples of from some branches on how to do things. So there's a lot of material out there. And then over the past year, we sort of reorganized the website along with the help of the website, AW California website team. And so now we feel it's become much more user-friendly. There's a lot of material available, and also we feel it is now easy to access. So we thought, instead of just doing another webinar where we're talking but not really getting back as much, we thought that this would be better to do an informal session where we get to hear from you more, hear what kinds of questions you have, and also show you what resources are available, what's on the website, and how to access that material. And so with that in mind, that's what this session is. So you're always feel free to raise your hands. Does everybody know how to raise your hands whenever you have a question? If you go to the bottom of the screen, under reactions, you click on reactions, there's a thing that says raise hand. And so if you hit that, then it raises the hand. The advantage of raising hand that way is that you can sort of see it. It comes to the top of the screen because, again, as I said, since we're going into multiple screens, otherwise if you raise just your hand, if you do this, then it's harder to see everything. Sue, you have a question?
Yes, could you remind me, there used to be a calendar, I'm sure there's still a calendar for the finance officers on your website, but I cannot find it, of what to file when, just an easy calendar.
Okay, well, the calendar for the deadlines for filing taxes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll show you that. Sure, we'll go through it on the website, and then I'll show you where.
Okay. And my other question is, what does a person do if there's nobody in their branch who will not audit but review the financials? We're supposed to get it reviewed. What do we do if there's no one?
I think ask you're all here, treasurers or finance officers from various branches. Just ask somebody from another branch.
No, okay, I wouldn't wish it on them, but anyway, okay.
No. I mean, that's really, okay. It's nice to, it's also a learning experience to see how some other branch is doing it. You could ask any branch, you could ask, another branch in your IBC, they're geographically closer to, in case they want to come and see something. But most things these days is just like downloading stuff. I did the finance review for one of the branches, asked me to do this, and she just downloaded everything onto the Google Drive, and I was able to look at it. So you never need to really go there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I just need to find the calendar. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, and thank you for asking your questions. One thing maybe I'd like all of you to do is, again, if you go to chat and put in one or two questions or areas or issues that are top of the mind for you. I'll just give you a couple of minutes to do that.
Okay. Okay, treasurer instructions on filings.
Oh, when branch is dissolving. Yeah. Inputting new member. Overlap between fund chair and treasurer. Swipe device. Okay. Anyone still working on it? Okay. Okay. Choosing good online bank, transparency for TechTrack SPF accounting of branch contributions. We're working on that. Shape the future. November 15 is deadline for all the filings. Yeah. What was meant by the CA text form? Karen Dennis asked that. Has anyone found free or low price software to do nonprofit accounting? Okay, yeah, thank you. Keep your, you can keep putting the questions there. And as we go through different topics on the website, just like any questions on those topics, just raise your hands and ask them there as well. All right, so what we're going to do now is let me share my screen and show you the website. Okay, so here we are. So this is the finance website. And how did you get here? If you go to, so this is the homepage of the AUW California website. And you see this, these menu items on top. These are the ones, this row is what's most useful for branches. The big menu items is really more useful for outsiders, those who don't know about AUW, and to find out more about AUW California. And also, like say, those who are participating in the various like TechTrack, SpeechTrack, and the new one, GovTrack. So in order to, one of the most useful places here is one, branch tools. And very top of it says branch finance. So if you click on that, this finance website comes up. And if we look at it, it covers the key areas that are of interest to finance officers. So basically the way the website is organized is, it's good to go through it in order, especially if somebody is new to the role of a finance officer. It's arranged that way. For instance, the first one talks about, this is the starting point. Then the next one talks about how to do branch accounting. Then the next one talks about membership dues, because again, even though that's a membership chair's job, but the treasurer gets involved wherever, payments are involved. Then this is government documents and deadlines, filing your taxes, for filing all the other government documents. Then it's about branch insurance, right? Again, the treasurers end up paying for the branch insurance and the funds. And then finally, fundraising finance. So branches do fundraisers. And while this is primarily the responsibility of funds chairs, but again, there are a lot of tax implications to different kinds of fundraising. And so it is important that the finance officers understand what those issues are. So what we're going to do now is we'll go through each of these areas to give you a quick idea of what is included there, what kind of information you'll find. We'll obviously not go through all the details. and then give you a chance to ask questions on those topics. So with that, I think Chris will get us started on that, and I'll pass the control of the screen to her. Chris, you have the control now.
Okay, thank you. And Raleigh, if you could let the people in that are chiming in while I'm talking, that would be helpful.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks. I just want to start at the beginning. Actually, I should introduce myself first. I'm Chris Ritter, and I am the co-president of our Danville Alamo Walnut Creek branch this year. And then 2 years ago, I was the president. And then for the 2 years prior to that, I was the treasurer. And I've been on the finance committee for 4 years. It's a great group, and I've learned so much. And one of the reasons I joined the finances committee, because I was just overwhelmed at being a new branch treasurer. I didn't know how to do the job, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I figured, well, maybe if I joined the committee, I'll learn something. And I did. It's been a great experience. So I'm just going to talk about our first section here about how to be a branch treasurer. This is the starting point if you're just coming into the role, but also it's a great 30,000-foot view of what you're supposed to be accomplishing as a branch treasurer. Mm-hmm. So it's divided into several sections. Mm-hmm. And here we go. So the first one is, hang on. There we go. Branch financial basics. So here, it talks about really what is the role of a treasurer? What are your responsibilities? And in major terms, there's really some big projects that you do. The first thing is you want to get the buy-in of your board to make them understand that you are not the only one responsible for the finances. So we have some material to help you present to your board on that. Then there's a job description for the treasurer responsibilities, which is basically, as we go through the financial year, it's preparing a budget, providing monthly reports to your board, and then having your finances reviewed at the end of the year. And then also filing taxes and government information is a big part of your role. So this is all covered in the treasurer responsibility documents. And then there's finally a finance toolkit. And I want to open this just for a minute because I want to make a point here. There is a finance toolkit available on the national website, which applies to all branches in all states. We, as a finance committee in California, went through this kit and revised and updated it for California affiliates. So please download this copy of it and use it for your work as you become the treasurer. So those are the materials. The webinar actually is something also you may wish to watch because it's a really good overview of what treasurers do. And we had 4 or 5 speakers from different types of branches say how they handled their finances, what their processes were, what kind of software they used. And we have all sorts of interesting overview material for you to take a look at there. You can download the presentation if you want. There's reference material and the Q&A that resulted from that webinar. So that's really the overview section here. So I don't know whether we have a lot of questions, but if you do at this point, please ask them because we're going to dive into detail in our next section.
Could you make the font, the whole window bigger? I know it's kind of hard to read from here anyway, on the shared screen part.
Maybe, Raleigh, I think you would have to do that, right? Let me give you back control.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, I have control.
Every participant can do that herself.
Yeah, see, for me, it's really big.
If you go up to the top center of your screen, there's something called View Options. Inside View Options, there's a zoom ratio, and you can adjust the zoom ratio to make the screen bigger or smaller.
Okay, thank you for that, Monica. Okay, so are there any questions on that? Did anybody have any questions? Otherwise, we'll go on to the what's under the branch accounting section. And I'll give control over to Roberta. Okay, Roberta, you have control now.
Zoom for letting me know that. Okay, I'm Roberta Schmalz. I'm the treasurer of the Citrus Heights American River Branch. My story is very, very much like Chris's. Somehow, a nanosecond after I joined AAUW, I was the treasurer. I had no clue what I was supposed to do. I had no background in fund accounting, and I didn't know how AAUW worked really. So I struggled. And then there was an opportunity to join the finance committee, and I thought, maybe I'll learn what I'm supposed to be doing, and then maybe I can share that with everybody, actually in the hopes of recruiting another treasurer for my branch. So that's why I'm here. I want to point out to you the things in how to do branch accounting. The first one is a webinar. Why is that? Oh, there we go. Whoops. Slippery slidey. You can watch it, you can listen to it. I frequently go back to the accounting guides. Raleigh asked us to come up with a couple questions in each of our sections that we get asked a lot. It seems like you have plenty of questions, so I'm going to go real light on my made up questions. One of them is, I'm not going to ask this question. All of the reports are due 5 days from now, November 5th. No, I'm sorry, November 15th. So if you're struggling with what do I include in dues for the fiscal year, July 1st of 21 to June 30 of 2022, I just want to remind you that what you received way back in April, May, and June of 21 is part of the dues for the year that you're reporting on now, because dues are received in advance. People are actually giving you the dues to buy memberships, if you will, for the following year. Just like the dues that we got April, May, and June of 22 are buying memberships for the year July 1st of 22 to June 30 of 23. So just remember to go back and take a look at that. And kind of as an illustration, I want to get into the details for a minute, and I'm going to go to tab 3 of the webinar. And what you're looking at is a set of financial statements. It's at the beginning of the year. So this is July 1st of something, and we haven't done any journal entries yet. And you probably can't read this, but it says deferred branch dues income 2000. That's just a reminder that those dues that we got April, May, June, we deferred, and then we take them into income July 1st when the new year starts. There's a couple of other tabs that also address this, and in a second I'll find them. Tabs 4 and 7 also talk about this. So I'm going to go back now. Excuse me. The other thing that comes up with dues, I'm talking about dues a lot. This is supposed to be accounting, but it seems like half our job is accounting for dues. So that's why it's so heavy here. The other question that does come up a lot that I didn't do right in the beginning is when somebody gives me a check for their national, their state, and their branch dues, that's not all my branch dues. What I want to do is record my dues, either as deferred dues or if it's current year, current dues, and I want to set up a liability. I owe National and I owe California for their part of the dues, and I don't include those in mine. Let's take a look at what else is in here. Let me roll this one back up. We have some financial documents, how to develop a budget. Excuse me, reimbursement forms. I use this constantly. This financial template is basically what we looked at. It's a statement of activities and a statement of position, and you'll find it all through this webinar. Another question that seems to come up a lot is if your branch is lucky enough to have an investment account, a brokerage account, is it income when you move the money from the brokerage account over to the checking account because you want to, say, give out some scholarships or something of that nature? And the answer is no, it's not. when the investment account earns the interest and the dividends, that's when it's income to the branch. But moving it from one, basically an investment account, a brokerage account, to the checking account does not increase income any further. It's just changing the nature of an asset, basically. The investment account got smaller, the checking account got bigger. Last, and this relates to Sue's question earlier, there's a document on retaining records. How long do you have to keep all this stuff? And how do you do a financial review? So my first job as treasurer was to review the parting treasurer's books, and I had absolutely no clue. And somebody pointed me in the direction of this, and I was able to kind of like say, oh yeah, okay, read the minutes, make sure that they've done what they voted to do in the minutes, so on and so forth. So that kind of takes care of the accounting. I'm happy to stop now for specifics on, this is more geared towards, this happens, we increase this account, we decrease this account. It's kind of accounting. Are there any questions on that part of it?
Laura,
This might be premature, but on the deferring the branch dues to the correct year,
Mhm.
now that, and maybe some people are not aware of this, but now that National is letting people join whenever they want and they're members for a full year from that date, how will that fall into that?
That's a really, really interesting question. And we on the finance committee discussed it and decided that since it hadn't happened yet, we weren't going to go there. So
I have one person who's planning on joining in either November or December, and she understands that she'll be a member until November or December of next year. And
yeah,
so I was just like, I don't even know where we'll put it in this year's, and then we'll just, I guess, go with it. But I just was
I
curious.
think our consensus was exactly that.
Yeah,
We
just
changed
whatever
it.
year they join, that's the year it is.
Cash basis accounting, you get
Yeah.
the money, it's dues.
Yeah, okay.
Because I don't think it's possible to have all of these, every
Yeah.
month you would have to be doing some kind of an accrual, and that
Right.
doesn't make sense. Raleigh, Chris, Carol, both, all of you agree with me?
yeah, that's
Okay.
okay for now, unless we get, unless there's some other.
There's some kind of brainstorm, but I think I think that's the only way to deal with it.
Yeah. Great question. We have the same one. The other thing that I'm supposed to discuss are membership dues, but we already kind of went through all of that. So I'm just going to show you real quick what's in here. There's a schedule of membership dues. What is it when you join under Shaping the Future? I think I saw a question about that. And then there's a section on Community Hub. I saw loads of questions on the Community Hub. So I'm going to, I think, save those for later because we are all, I think, still struggling. In fact, I saw a couple of questions about, of late, it seems like National is taking not only their national dues and the state dues, but they're taking my branch dues. So I get the money and then they're charging me for it. Well, the good news is that I did get that happened twice, and I did get a deposit for those dues back. So I don't know if it's a glitch that they're fixing, if they've changed the way they do it, but the good news is the money did come back to the branch. Okay.
I'm happy to hear that, Roberta, because just today I got a message from someone about exactly that they were, to their shock, their branch dues were also taken by National. They said, oh, when am I going to get that back? So, okay.
Yeah, I wrote and asked a question and I never got an answer, but I got the money back, and that's what I really cared about. Gloria, do you have a question on something here?
I'm not quite sure where it falls. We want somebody to generate an invoice for a college and university partner so that the college will pay it, and then our student member can be a student member. And we can't get anybody to do it. How do we get that done?
If I knew our partner would have paid their dues, because we're having the same, we are not able to get them to pay the dues. And I don't know if I never thought about it being an invoicing problem.
So that has to actually National, let me try answering that one. National does send invoices to the university or college, The question is, sometimes colleges may decide not to renew. And so, and then of course that starts affecting, then the students, because if their college is a partner member, then it's free. Otherwise they have to pay, I think, 1881 or something. But I don't think the branch can do anything about it.
No, but can you rattle?
Because it says really is the college is the college wants to join but didn't get the invoice.
Yes. So can you rattle the cage at the national level, or tell me who to rattle the cage and go and bother at the national level so I can get what I need?
I would check their website first about paying a college university partnership.
We've been up and down, and I think we got Sandy Gabe involved, and we still can't get an answer. We can't get an invoice.
Well, Sandy's the best, so she's not able to get an answer. I think I think then the only thing left is either connect, or you can attend one of their office hour sessions, which are every Tuesday and Thursday.
Oh, they're still going on?
Yeah, they're going on twice a week. So I would suggest that that's the quickest way of getting your answer.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Someone just answered that in chat. Laura, email Angela Cooper with a subject line that says CU partner. The invoice worked for me.
The subject line should say something along need CU partner invoice or something like that. She saw it and she sent she CC'd me or whatever, but she sent them the invoice.
Okay.
So, I mean, because that's how they did it. I don't think they did it by mail. They only did it by email. So it could easily have gotten lost by the university.
Okay. Rolly, you want me to continue taking questions or pass it back to you?
Yes, please. No.
Okay. Karen?
Oh, I am unmuted. My question, or actually it's a comment. I had the same thing that the speaker, not the last one, but before, had about branch dues.
Mm-hmm.
They took the money, of course, directly out of our account. And when you are on the hub, it says, is the person a branch member? And of course they're a branch member. That's why I'm sending it in, and I checked it. Well, Angela told me that no, I should not check. If I want to keep the money in my account, I do not check they're a branch member. And I said, well, yeah, I have to check they're a branch member because they are one. And they said that's sort of like de facto. And I said, I'm very uncomfortable with that because I have their check in hand. And if I say they're not a branch member, it bothers me. And so they said, well, then we will send the money back to you. They did it 3 times in a row. And yes, I finally got the money back. But it was my understanding that you have to say, no, they're not a branch member. You keep the $20 and everything's fine. I just ethically could not do that. And so that's where I am.
But it's counterintuitive, actually.
Yes, it is. And there should be in that stupid website they should have something, a check mark that simply says, is a branch member. That would be perfectly fine to me. But that they won't, if you check they're a branch member, they take the money you send in, and yes, you will get it back. But you have to, if you want to keep that money, you have to say they're not a branch member. And that's okay with them, but it was not okay with me.
Okay, interesting.
Anita, did you have a question?
Yes, I have, I guess, 2 questions. Since you talked about the national returning your dues, we have 3 members whose they renewed their membership, And on the branch roster, the renewal expiration date is one incorrect. One of them says their expiration date is 2025, and I got reimbursed 3 times for that member. And I'm sure, and then 2 other members have the expiration date incorrect also. We've notified, we talked to Angie about it, and nothing has happened.
Anita, for you, I would also recommend you attend one of their office hours sessions.
I'll have to do it again.
Yes.
Our membership chairman did. She went to the office hours and raised this point, and nothing happened. But my second question is, I didn't quite understand what you said when someone new member joins, and they join. Well, we had one in November, so her dues are now going from November to November. Is that correct? Is that the way it's going to happen?
If it's a new member, probably. If it is a renewal, they have had a grace period till the end of November. So if it's a renewal, then it's still considered as renewed as of July 1 and going to June 30th. But I think for new members, I think that is the plan, but because right now they've been extending the grace period, it hasn't been entirely clear. So what do I tell this? I mean, this person got a confirmation saying that the dues, go from November to November. So what do I tell them? It just goes to the fiscal year? No, it probably goes to November to November.
Okay.
Oh God, I'm sorry. This is my phone.
Sounds like they're doing it for National's convenience, not for all of our members.
Well, I'm really confused about that. I don't know how to handle it.
I think what they're doing is changing it's confusing because they're changing the model of membership. It's like many other organizations, the membership goes from whatever date you join and then a year from that. And because it's such a big change for us and we haven't really experienced it, I think none of us are totally sure how it's going to work. I think we should not spend too much time discussing this issue because I don't think we'll be able to shed, it's an issue, but I don't think we'll be able to shed too much light on it here.
Okay.
Helen, do you have a question?
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Helen. You had something?
Oh, I can actually see the virtue of if I join late, it goes for a full year. But I can also understand as a past treasurer that it's a real problem. But what I'm wondering is, National used to send an email with a link. And if they do that for these memberships that are spread out over the whole year, that's fine. That's good because then it will happen. But if they don't, again, what are the treasurers supposed to do?
Yeah, and I think it's a bit premature for us to talk about that because we haven't hit that yet. And so it could be that National hasn't figured out exactly how they're going to handle it. Because right now for renewals, they've just extended the grace period till end of November. So anybody who renews up to November is still just going fiscally on the fiscal year boundary. So I think let's let that rest. So Roberta, I don't see any other questions. If you give me back the control, maybe I'll go on and talk about the government.
I thought you could just take control.
Yeah, I probably can. Okay, I have.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's carrying on then a little bit about government documents and deadlines. So we have, of course, November 15. The big deadline is just 5 days away, and I think, fortunately, I think most of you have probably already done your filings. But any case, it's good to see where everything resides, and there is the question of how do I see where the deadlines are. Okay, so we did a webinar called Let's Talk Taxes, Government Filings Demystified, just this past May. So again, like you saw with the other two webinars, there is the recording, there's the presentation material, and then there are a lot of sample forms. And even the questions that were asked in the webinar with answers are all included here. So this is, again, a very good way of reviewing, as are the other webinars. So I can't emphasize enough the value of listening to the webinars if you're not comfortable with any of those topics. Then the other area is actually where are all the filings. So there is a whole bunch, everything about annual filings, raffle reporting, and government agency information. So there's so much stuff that you click here to get to its own page. So here's this page on government documents and deadlines. And so starting out, so this is all about the annual filings. And for most of these things, the deadline is November 15. So overview, this is a nice section which gives an overview of annual filings. So if you click here, it's a short, readable document about what are the main things that have to be filed. So the IRS Form 990, then the California one, the 199 family, and then those that go to a charitable trust or the Attorney General's office. And so there's the RRF one, and then the CTTR one. So this just gives in English what each of those are. Then there is, if you see the next one, the branch treasurer checklist, and this is to where is that list of all the deadlines. If you go download the checklist, and let me see if I can increase the size of this a little. Okay. So in this one, then you see it lists all of the forms and what the due dates are, and so it gives you that list of all the forms. So this one with the 990, so if you ask National to file, then it's 10/15. If you do it yourself, then it's November 15. Then the state one, also November 15, the Attorney General forms. Then if your branch is incorporated, then you have to do the SI 100. So this is only for branches that have an Inc. after their name. And this is something that has to be filed every 2 years. And every branch has its own deadline, depending on the date on which they got incorporated. So that becomes the deadline 2 years from that date, every 2 years from that date, that has to be filed. And then there are raffle reports. There are several branches hold raffles, but may not realize that they have to file reports to the California for those raffle reports. So the first of these is before you ever hold the first raffle in the year, and then and that has a description of how many raffles you plan to hold. And then the second one is at the end, when the year has ended, what are the raffles that were actually held. And then if raffles have big prizes, which often may not be the case for our branches, then there are additional federal requirements too. So the raffles is a tricky area because it is seen as gambling. And so that's why there's a lot of paperwork associated with that. So anyway, this is the one that gives you the list of everything at a glance. And that's very useful. Then you get into the details of each of the things. So this is 990, asking national to file. So it tells you what it is and how to submit it. And so you can go through each of these. This is if you're filing yourself, the 990. This one is the 199. And so you can actually march through these. I'm not going to open all of them, but there's information about all of them. Then there is the CTTR1, so that which is probably more work than most others, just because you have to write. You have this sort of your information. Your accounting information has to be entered in there. And there is a little a video that explains how to do it. There's also an example of a completed form. So there's a lot of information. Similarly, for the RRF1, all that information is available. And then this is the SI100, which is for incorporated branches. So all these annual filings, I can't emphasize enough how important they are, because if a branch fails to file for 3 years in a row, then you lose your tax exempt status. And sometimes branches don't realize that they have to do the Attorney General's filings too. So, I mean, I had a case of a branch where they had been doing their IRS filings and the California Franchise Tax Board ones, but somehow hadn't for 3 years filed the RRF1. And so then now they have to actually do all that back filing plus pay $500 fine. So it becomes very onerous and expensive to do that. So you really need to be careful that those 4 forms are filled out every year. The 990, you can ask National to do it, and then the 199, and then these 2 Attorney General forms. It's extremely important. Okay, and then we had talked a little bit about raffle reporting, and so this section gives you all those forms and examples. So what are the forms? This one is you can get the form, and there's an example of a completed form. So if your branch does raffles, be sure to look this section up. And then there are some other things. This application here is for if a branch has, like if there's a new branch formed, and so they need to get California's FTB number, then you fill this one out. Or if somebody doesn't have a charitable trust number, like if they've never filled in an RRF1 form, then they need to do this. This one is interesting, entity status letter. Every once in a while, a branch may need proof that it's in good standing with the state of California, that they are up to date, they have filed all their forms and all that. And so you can get this, you can request a status letter. So that's what that one is about. So that's all that I have to say. Are there any questions on these filings?
Well, you have one in chat from Helen Gessick. Is a silent auction the same as a raffle?
Okay. Is the silent auction the same as a? Can we hold it off to the next section when we do fundraising finance? Because silent auctions and raffles will be talked about there. Anything else?
So the answer is no, and we'll find out more later.
Yeah.
Is there a list of who filed for the tax exempt stuff? Because I had a really terrific predecessor, and so she filed the tax papers like July 1, and so I didn't have to, but I was seeing all these emails, and then I didn't realize that I didn't have to until late in the game.
Well, that's a lucky, the opposite problem. It was already done and you didn't need to worry about it. It's a good situation. Okay. Anything else? And I haven't been paying attention to chat. Is there something else? Okay. Okay, so I think
We have another question, Raleigh. Says,
Yeah.
when I filled out the request to National to file our branch tax form, I did not get a confirmation that they received my request. In the past, they used to send a reply confirming my request.
Okay, let me ask, has anybody received a reply this year? Has anybody got an acknowledgement that, I mean, I would assume that they have filed it, once they have, but if some other branches, we have several finance officers here, has anybody's branch received something from National saying we filed it?
No, I haven't, and I've been worried about it.
Okay, so I think that I think a lot of these processes are just being worked out this year with the community hub. So I would say no news is good news. Let's go with that.
We have three yeses
I can
from
send
the
a question to Angie Cooper, but these kinds of things may not get a response. So if somebody is attending one of those tutorial sessions, they can ask there. There's Kathy Chavanhill, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I never got, I sent 3 months ago the RTF, is it in? And the RRF one. And the check has never been cashed. So I went and looked online to see what was going on. And as far as I can tell, they never received what I sent. And I don't know how to find out if they have it or not. I've sent emails to them and I don't get a response from the Attorney General's office, of course. But I'm not sure what to do about it to find out if they ever got it, since they never cashed the check.
You did, you submitted RRF one last year, right?
Yes, I submitted it this year also, but I did it by mail.
Yeah, but last year your check was cashed, and this year it hasn't. Is that it?
Yes.
I think you can afford to wait then, because these things don't become big issues unless it's 3 years in a row. So if you find that all year the check hasn't been cashed, you're getting concerned, then maybe you can give them a call next year.
Okay. Well, all right. You don't have an in up there, huh?
Well, also, I might say our branch has found that actually you can call them on the phone and they'll talk to you.
I called them on the phone and it said they weren't answering any phone calls that I had to email.
Oh, brother. Must have changed that.
Yeah, I think they just got too many of us calling.
Okay. Any other questions on this? If not, I'll just say a few words on branch insurance. So this is also an important section to understand branch insurance, and note that November 15 is not only a deadline for tax filings, but also for if any branch hasn't paid the branch insurance and funds assessments to us, to AUW California, that's due November 15 as well. So this section here just says how the assessment is calculated, how we find out, for instance, for the funds assessment and also for the insurance, the amount we charge. And basically it's the insurance, both are on a sliding scale depending on number of members, but the formula is different. Yeah.
Ronnie, did you put this website together with all these things?
Well, the content is not just me. I think it's our whole committee has, done all the content, and some of it has been around for a while. Like, for instance, this liability insurance Q&A has been there, and then organizing, and then we worked on also what would be a logical way to organize the material so that people could find it more easily. And then the magic of making it interactive is from the website team.
Oh, good. Well, thank
Andy
you.
Game and team. Yeah, so this is really a team effort, you know.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for that.
Okay, so this one is liability insurance. If you have any questions, what does it cover? That's all answered here. And then requesting a certificate of insurance, you know, for your events that you do here. And I'd like to say that every time you need to get a certificate of insurance, please come to the website and download the request form from here, because very often with our insurance company, the contact person changes frequently. And then if you have something sitting with you, you know, from a year ago or 2 years ago, then that contact phone number may not be correct. And so, you know, maybe you send in an application and nothing happens. So I would say always come here. Like just recently we had a changeover, and so we have recently updated this as well. Okay, so any questions on insurance? Otherwise, I'll pass on to Carol to talk about fundraising finance, and some questions had already come up, and I'll pass the control to Carol. Carol, you have control now.
Okay, thank you, Rolly. So my story on being a part of this committee is very similar to what Roberta and Chris shared. I'm new to California, but I'm not new to AUW, and I was treasurer of my branch previously. Also had a bit of a background in nonprofit finance, and so that was sort of what I brought to the committee. And the first thing that I got to do was to sit in on one of the webinars, and I was like, oh, where was this when I was thrown into being the branch treasurer in my previous branch? So I would concur with the comments that and now with the new improved website, there's just so much information available to you that it's great. And my part here is talking about the fundraising aspect, or the accounting aspects basically of fundraising, even though there may be a ways and means or fundraising person in the branch. So the first thing is really on handling donor contributions. And Gloria, you asked also about what was was there an overlap between AEUW funds and the treasurer? And as it so happens, I've just become the AEUW funds chair for my branch. And I would say that it's essentially separate. We're collecting the funds and forwarding them directly to national. So it's not passing through the branch books at all. But as you know, it's really important to acknowledge contributions, and the good rule is just acknowledge them. The considerations are different depending on if your branch is a 501c3 or a 501c4. If you're a 501c3, any contributions that are over $250 have to be acknowledged in writing. That can be email, by the way, and there is some language that the IRS would recommend that is a part of that. You can see in this document, it gives you some of the language that goes there. The other thing with contributions is that if you have contributions that are for a specific purpose, like a Tech Trek campership or a special branch project, that is where accounting for those separately is important, because you need to keep track of the money until you've actually used it for that project. So that's one of the places where, as a treasurer, you would get involved with donor contributions. Are there any specific questions about just accounting for contributions before we go on to other types of fundraising events? Don't see any hands raised. Okay, so fundraising events, there's a lot of kinds of fundraising.
Questions from Kathy. Hang on.
Kathy, yes, I see your hand.
Did you mean 501c4? Because that's the one that they can take off their taxes, right?
No, 501c3 is the one that's tax exempt to the organization, but it's also tax deductible to the donor. So a 501c3 is considered a publicly supported organization.
So if our branch is a 501c4, we do not have to, I mean, we should acknowledge those, but we don't legally have to?
Exactly, because the donor cannot take that as a deduction.
Right.
So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. Okay, so for fundraising events, we've already talked about raffles in some detail, and actually silent auctions are different than raffles. A raffle, you're buying a chance to win, and so that is why it's considered gambling. A silent auction, you're just basically offering to buy an item if you have the winning bid. So it's not it's not winning in the sense of being picked from a cast of thousands. So for raffles, as we saw in the previous section, you do need to apply for permission to conduct them, and you can do that once for the whole year and make one report for the whole year. If there's an event with ticket sales, then you have quite a few other considerations. And the other piece is that if you are doing events that involve sales, I just have to go back twice here, you may have sales tax due on some of the, if you have, for example, food at your event with ticket sales, and you are providing the food, there may be sales tax involved with that. If you use a caterer, the caterer is going to be taking care of that. But if you sell other items, such as t-shirts, tote bags, etc., then those are definitely subject to sales tax. And there are two publications here. This is the second one is an excerpt, just a short 5-page excerpt of the whole booklet. And then the longer booklet gives you quite a few details on the considerations for sales tax. Now, most people, if they're doing something like a sale, you don't want to be making odd change. So you set a sales price that's going to include the sales tax, and you're going to remit the sales tax at the end of the year. And unless you're selling some huge thing, you would be eligible to just do an annual submission of the sales tax. So that is pretty much what we have for the various kinds of fundraising events, and then requesting contributions, which are typically sort of the two broad categories of how branches raise money. Any questions on either of those topics? I don't see any more hands. So Rolly, I will close up and give it back to you.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Right, so I will stop sharing now, and let's see, are there any questions from anyone on any, on any topics? If you'd like to ask at this time, yeah, Tricia. Yeah. Patricia, go ahead. You're muted.
All right. I asked the question about transparency for Tech Trek donations and distributions. And you said something about you're working on that, or they are working on that. Could you explain that?
No, through distributions was, no, you send a check. Maybe Roberta, do you want to take that one on these RMD distributions, donation to Tech Trek, please?
Oh, you're talking about, yeah, I have to understand the question. Are you talking about somebody giving money from an IRA?
No.
Is that, no, so this isn't an RMD question.
No.
I think her question,
okay, so ask your question. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
yeah. I think it was about accounting for the actual Tech Trek contributions that are used or not, right? It was somewhere, it was far up in the chat, Roberta.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so my question is, I try to report on a monthly basis what is the balance that we have held by the SPF for our branch. And it appears that you have to go through a treasurer, but they don't, I'm just wondering, isn't it possible for us to get a statement from the SPF on a monthly basis, just like you do for your Vanguard money market account or anything else that says, during the month of October, these were the contributions received, and during the month of October, we withdrew from your account $900 for each of the 5 Tech Treks campers that we sponsored.
Okay, I understand your question, and what I meant while we're working on it is that the finance committee is actually working with Tech Trek to come up with a better way of accounting for the donations, you know, and reporting back on that. So you won't be getting it from SPF, but you should be able to get it from the camp treasurer. Is that a correct answer? Anybody else want?
Can I ask a follow-up question? Do you want it monthly, or would quarterly be fine?
Monthly would be helpful because I'm particularly interested in when does the check get, when does the money taken from our account held by the SPF and then given to the campus?
Okay, well, and that's not exactly how it operates. The money, I mean, somebody else join in if you feel like it, because we're working on this right now. But the money goes to SPF, and then expense vouchers go to SPF, and SPF pays the vouchers. So I'm still having trouble understanding exactly what accounting. I'm very interested in what accounting branches would like to see to help them manage, excuse me, their Tech Trek funds at SPF.
I mean, basically, like once a branch has decided, like the branches may have got certain donations, right? So they've transferred some amount, let's say $5,000, and then they've decide, well, how many girls am I actually sending? So if you say that, well, actually we're, thought we'd send 5 girls, but we're only sending 4 girls, and if it is $1,000 per student, then 4,000 is what would, like as soon as it's determined that, there are 4 girls going, then the 4,000 will be taken out, but 1,000 stays because it's been donated, but it isn't being used. So.
Yeah, I'm just totally baffled by that particular entity. And then I understand that when you make a contribution or we send some money in, they have a service fee. But nowhere have it's never clear to me what is that service fee and when is it assessed?
So the service fee on the.
I think I could tackle that maybe. The service fee, if in Raleigh's example, you send in 5,000, and let's say you want to send 5 girls, and it's $1,000 a girl, you have $5,000 you can use. The service fee comes out of SPF, so it's going to impact. Let's say it's Davis, which is where we send most of our girls. Davis gets the 5,000. They can spend 5,000 less the 5%. But it doesn't impact the number of girls that you have on deposit, so to speak. And my understanding is that the Tech Trek camp treasurers do this all at the same time. I'm kind of remembering maybe March 15th from our discussions. So you commit how many girls you want, and then they will reduce your balance. Is that helpful?
That's
Not really.
that's what I understand happens. I would really like to have a statement that says, here's what you've got, and here's the number of girls that we intend to send, and somehow, where is the 5% coming from? To
Yeah,
pay?
it's that 5% is not, my understanding is that Davis, the camp, gets your 5,000 less 5% to spend, but it doesn't impact your 5,000 as far as sending 5 girls. Am I correct there, Raleigh, Chris?
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I'm
I
not
think so.
sure how that.
I think so, based on the accounting that we've seen.
Okay, well, obviously, we're all a little befuddled by this whole thing, and I think you're doing the right thing trying to get it straightened out. I'll just wait for a little bit more clarity later.
And would you like then spontaneous statements, like you get them every quarter, that tells you this is what you've got?
Sure.
I see somebody else shaking their head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I appreciate Patricia saying this because this is something we've actually wanted for a long time as well. And quarterly would even be better. If it can't be monthly, even quarterly, just so that we have a record.
Yeah. I'll just give you an example. I set up a donor advised fund at our local community foundation. And we have accounts there for our girls' state contributions and distributions, another one for scholarships, and another one for a STEM event that we like to sponsor locally. I can go online at any time, and I have a live balance and a report on during this particular period of time. I can say, is it monthly or annually or year to date? Here's what was given to this particular account, and here's how the distributions came out. Let's say $1,000 scholarship to somebody. But anyway, it's just so easy and transparent, and I question why couldn't SPF do that for us as well?
Yeah.
I think it's the campuses that keep track more of the branch balances. It's not SPF.
SPF feels that they look after the project. I think we don't have anybody from SPF here. It's better we don't get into it.
Okay.
One of our finance committee members, Kathy Ford, she's actually now the financial liaison for Tech Track. So, she might have been able to say some more about this as well, but, she's out of town today, so she couldn't be.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's just something that
I think it's
struggling with, and I'd like to see some answer in the next year.
Okay, sounds good. Karen, you have a question?
My comment is really to Patricia. I've been back and forth with the SP, the Special Projects Fund. And one of the things that my concern was that if people send money directly to them and bypass me, we didn't know how much money was in the fund. And that was always a question. But the new person, Pamela, she emails us once or twice saying, this is how much money you have, and then we can do the planning. I do think there is a disconnect here that we could ask for, but I think as a treasurer, I don't want to hear from them every month. I would like a quarterly would be fine because I don't deal with that money and I really don't want to. I want to know how much money we have at one time per girl, and that would be cumulative. So if I know I have it this quarter, then I have X amount to do it. I just would like to know when we get closer to March, how much other private donations have come in. December for our particular branch is very good. People have that December giving, and somebody gave $1,000 and I didn't know it. And so I'm saying we only have one girl we can do, and indeed we had more. So I agree with Patricia. I would like to know in a timely manner, but I don't need it every month. And that's just my comment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
Rolly, there's a couple more questions in the chat that relate to contributions. So if I could I'll just take those. In national, I actually tested the Community Hub and made a contribution myself, and I got an immediate acknowledgement by email. So yes, I think contributions are made to AUW National or AUW funds through the Community Hub, they are acknowledging them. That doesn't prevent you from acknowledging them when you get a list of who's given, as more thank yous are usually better. Then the Chico branch received a laptop computer, and is there tax related? Actually, if the computer was valued at more than $250, and that's by the donor, then it would be helpful for them to have a letter saying, thank you very much for the donation of the personal computer, but you don't need to give it a value. They would be the ones to establish what the value was when they're filing their taxes. So just wanted to cover those.
Yeah, so this one, the Chico branch one is sent 2,000 to the specific camp, and have not heard if AUW California has sent the money to Davis Camp. So where was the money sent? To SPF? Where was the money sent? This was from Lynn. Anyway, I'll save all these questions anyway.
I'm Lynn.
Yeah.
We already had the money in our account. We had plenty of money to cover our girls, and so because of the COVID protocols, with the extra supplies that they needed, we felt that we could contribute to Davis, our camp at Davis University, UC Davis, and there was some kind of, I don't know. It was before I became treasurer, but the request was kind of sidelined, and all they sent me was what our total was in our account at the state level, and it did not show that they did anything with the $2,000 request.
So it's sitting in your account, and it was
still in the account.
Oh,
but then someone asked me, well, do you want it sent this year? And I replied, yes, we do, because it was intended for this last year's camp. And if there was some expenses that the Davis camp officials had to spend on the COVID protocols, supplies, we wanted it to be covered. Mm-hmm. And so, but we never heard that. I want to say you guys, I mean, whoever's at the Tech Track here at the state level is in charge of that.
Okay, so there's also been a change of leadership at the year end. So I'll pass this on to Kathy Ford, and she, I'll let her know about this discussion. I'll have your, what you've written in your chat, and I'll share it with her.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so Laura?
Yes. This year, when a lot of our members paid their dues, they wrote out a check to the branch, which included all of their dues, state, national, and also any donations to AAUW funds. So when I processed those in June, I paid their donation to AAUW funds, Greatest Needs Fund, online. Okay. And obviously the money came because we had one check with the amounts for all of those. My understanding was that National is supposed to send an acknowledgement check for donations. I thought it was over $25. Does anybody know whether or not that's still the case for donations made to AAUW funds? I got a report from the Connect group that shows that the donation was made to the Greatest Needs Fund, but I don't know if they're mailing letters to them or not.
They tend to mail letters. I mean, normally they're required by IRS only if it's above 250, but I think they do acknowledge any amounts. But they would have mailed it directly to the person.
Right, but they're required to do, is it 250? Is that the dollar amount where they're required to mail something?
Yes.
So I'm not required. Obviously, it's nice to acknowledge and thank them and tell them maybe they should get a letter. I don't know whether they'll get a letter from AUW National or not. I have no confidence in that happening.
That has, I mean, in the past, it has always happened. You know.
Yeah, in the past.
Now with and and most donations through the hub, they just you get it right in email right then.
No, you get the fact that it was paid. I have a list. When I paid, it showed where it went. In other words, all the different dues and stuff when I paid that. I guess it's kind of a receipt that I got as an email. That's what you get when you process it online. But in any case, we'll see.
Okay, I think we're getting close to 8:30, so I think I'd like to end this session now. Again, one recommendation is that, those webinars are really good and a great use of somebody's time if you need to know how to do any of those things, like, getting the overview of branch accounting or taxes. I'd also, like to get some feedback about today's session. Was this helpful to you? Like as I was saying at the beginning, that we were thinking of doing a similar session in the spring. If this was helpful to you, we will go ahead and do that. If you think that we need to, okay, I see one thumbs up. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, okay, we'll see a few thumbs up. Okay, thank you. So we will do a similar session then in the spring, say maybe in the March timeframe, just before the renewals for membership dues start, all that. And finally, this is that, as I said at the beginning, my term as CFO is coming to an end in June, and we would very much like, please volunteer, either yourself or somebody you know in your branch or another branch. I would really appreciate, please think about it, and I'm very happy to talk to anybody about what's involved in the job. It isn't that hard, and a lot of it has to do with listening to, like hearing questions from various branch members, and so I would, please think about it and get in touch. And anything else from any of the committee members? Okay, well, thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, I think we'll have to stop recording.